It takes 12 builders 4 days to complete the brickwork for a house. How long would the same job take if 4 of the builders didn't turn up for work, assuming that all of the builders work at the same rate, so like at the same speed? So if there's 12 builders originally and 4 of them don't show up, 12 minus 4 is 8 builders. So we want to know how long is it going to take 8 builders to do the work. So if it takes 12 builders 4 days, then it's going to take less builders more time. Because if the number of people goes down, the time it takes will go up. Likewise, if the number of people went up, the time it would take will go down. This is known as inverse proportion. So let's start off by writing out the ratio. 12 builders, ... 4 days. So when we see these dots, we say 2. So 12 builders to 4 days. So the first thing we want to do is change 12 builders to 1 builder. And then we will change that 1 builder to 8 builders. So it takes 12 builders 4 days. If we change 12 builders to 1 builder, we're going downwards, so the number of builders is going from 12 to 1, we're decreasing. So that means the number of days will go up, will be increasing. So we're going to multiply 4 by 12, and that will give us 48 days. So here we have 12, technically 12 divided by 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1. So we do the opposite on the right hand side. 4 multiplied by 12 is 48. So if it takes 12 builders 4 days to do the job, it would take 1 builder 48 days to do the same job. So that makes sense. As the number of people goes down, the time it takes will go up. As the number of builders is decreasing, the number of days is increasing. So it takes 1 builder 48 days to do the same job. Now we want to change this 1 builder to 8 builders. And we want to figure out how many days that would take. So if 1 is going up to 8, if the number of builders is now increasing, the number of days will be decreasing. So we want to change from 1 builder to 8 builders, so we're increasing. So technically you're multiplying by 8. So you're going to do the opposite on the right hand side, you're going to divide by 8. So 48 days divided by 8 gives us 6 days. So it's going to take 8 builders 6 days to do the same job. So the number of builders was increasing, so the number of days was decreasing. So it takes 8 builders 6 days to do the same job. This is known as inverse proportion. It takes 12 builders 4 days to complete the brickwork for a house. Part 2. If the homeowner said he needs the brickwork done in 3 days, how many builders would be needed for the job? So we start off with the ratio that was given at the start, 12 builders to 4 builders. So in the last question, we wanted to work out how many days it would take 8 builders. Now we want to figure out how many builders will take 3 days. So at the moment, we have the ratio for 4 days. So we're going to change the 4 days to 1 day, figure out how many builders would do it in 1 day, and then change the 1 day to 3 days, figure out how many builders would do it in 3 days. So if the number of days is going down to 1, the number of builders will be going up. So to change from 4 days to 1 day, we're technically dividing by 4. So we're going to multiply by 4 on the other side. So if the number of days is decreasing, the number of people is increasing. So 12 multiplied by 4 is 48. So if it takes 12 builders 4 days to do the job, it would take 48 builders 1 day to do the job. So if the number of days is decreasing, the number of builders is increasing. So now we know how many builders it will take to do the job in 1 day. Now we want to know how many builders it will take to do the job in 3 days. So 1 day needs to go up to 3 days. So if the number of days is increasing, the number of builders will be decreasing. So to go from 1 to 3, we're technically multiplying by 3. So on the other side, we're going to divide by 3. So 48 divided by 3 is 16. So it's going to take 16 builders 3 days to do the same job. So the number of days was increasing, so the number of people was decreasing. So 16 builders will complete the job in 3 days. Part 1. Copy the table below to show the time taken by a car for a journey of 120 kilometers at various speeds. So we have speed in kilometers per hour is 30 kilometers per hour, then 40 kilometers per hour, then 60 kilometers per hour, and then 120 kilometers per hour. The distance is the same. The journey is not changing, so it's 120 each of the distances because the journey does not change. The time, however, will change. The time is in hours. So the first one is done for us. So we have 120 divided by 30 gives us 4 hours. So this is coming from Dad's silly triangle, our distance, speed, time triangle. So if we're interested in the time, which we are, because we're trying to fill in these gaps here, if we cover up the t, we're left with d over s. So time is distance divided by speed. So that's why we have 120 divided by 30. It's the distance, 120, divided by the speed, 30, gives us the time. So 4 stands for 4 hours. So this journey of 120 kilometers, if the car is traveling at 30 kilometers per hour, they will do the journey in 4 hours. So we want to figure out what goes in these other boxes. So the first one is already done for us, but just to explain it again, it's in order to work out the time, it's the distance divided by the speed. So the distance is 120 kilometers divided by the speed, which is 30 kilometers per hour. 120 divided by 30 is 4, so 4 hours. For the second one, we have the distance, 120, divided by the speed, which is 40. 120 divided by 40 is 3 hours. Next, we have the distance, 120, divided by the speed, which is 60. 120 divided by 60 is 2 hours. And lastly, we have the distance, which is 120, divided by the speed, which is 120. And 120 divided by 120 is 1 hour. So notice that as the speed increases, 30, 40, 60, 120, the time in hours decreases. 4, 3, 2, 1. This is known as inverse proportion. Part 2. What is the pattern of the times as the speed increases? So we already said that as the speed increases, the time decreases. They are inversely proportional. And part 3. What will be the time for speed of 90 kilometers? Remember, the journey hasn't changed, so the distance remains the same. So the time will be, again, distance divided by speed. So the distance is still 120 kilometers, that hasn't changed. We divide that by the speed, which is 90 kilometers, given in the question. Inputting this into the calculator will give us 4 over 3. So that's 4 over 3 hours, or 4/3 hours. Rewriting that as a mixed fraction, we have 1 and 1/3 hours. So we've 1 hour definitely, and then 1/3 of an hour. So we want to rewrite this as minutes. So in order to change hours into minutes, we multiply by 60. So 1/3 multiplied by 60, or 1/3 of 60 is 20. So it will be 1 hour and 20 minutes.